the Build Up Challenge. The series where I go around my town finding computers that nobody wants anymore so that we can fix them up and sell them for a profit so that we can add to our total bankroll and build an epic gaming computer that I'm gonna give away to one of you. Welcome back to the PC Rehab, everybody. Today is the 4th episode of our Build Up Challenge. Now, before I go ahead and show you the computer that we will be working on today, I do want to let you know that all of the other computers that we've built on this challenge have sold. So that initial investment of $500 that we put in to start this whole series now is $930. So that means that we've already made $430 in profit. Now, while we are off to a great start on funds, we do need to reinvest a little bit of this money so that we can keep that bankroll moving. And in today's video, I think that this computer is gonna come out looking phenomenal because a lot of the upgrades that we're going to be putting in this system are gonna be really, really nice. So let me introduce you to today's project computer. This right here is an older Intel system. It does have an i7-4790 CPU in it. The graphics card that comes with the system is a RX 580 8 gig, so it's a decent graphics card. It does come with an aftermarket cooler by John's Bow. There is what appears to be either 8 or 16 gigs of RAM, but I can't tell because when you take the RAM sticks out, it doesn't say anywhere on it what the capacity is or the speed of it. So we are gonna have to figure that out because we want at least 16 gigs of RAM because it'll make it more desirable. And to power this entire thing is a Corsair 750 watt power supply, which is way overkill for this computer, but it came in the system, so we're gonna keep it around. Now, the gentleman that sold me this computer right here parted ways with this thing for only $80. So that makes me feel like we can throw a pretty decent amount of upgrades in it and make a good amount of money off selling this computer. Although it did take me an hour both ways to get this thing. Do I need to start factoring in gas money into these builds? I don't think I should, just because that would eat up profits and make it so it takes a lot longer to start building your computer. So I don't think we're gonna do that. But real quick, if you are a fan of this series, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, because I want to keep doing these builds for you because I have an absolute blast restoring these old computers. But let's go ahead and start taking this thing apart so that I can show you all of the goodies that we're going to be using to upgrade this system right here. So taking this computer apart was extremely simple, but in the process, I did find a problem. And the problem is this graphics card. It does appear to have been dropped or damaged in some way in the back here. And it does seem like somebody took it apart and tried to put new thermal pads on here because it's not firmly fastened. The back VRMs here are just floating above where the thermal pads are sitting. You can see the thermal pads. So it looks like somebody tried to repair this or clean it and they put it back together very poorly. So we're gonna have to fix that because I don't want to sell the computer with a graphics card that isn't put back together properly. Now, for some upgrades that are going inside of this system, I do want to get rid of this John's Bow CPU cooler. Now, I do like this low profile cooler, but if it's gonna go into the computer case that I purchased for this computer, I need it to look a little bit better because there is a lot of visibility in the case it's going in. So we are going to switch from this low profile cooler, and we're going to be using this 240 millimeter radiator by Thermalright. Now, I love Thermalright as a company. I love their CPU coolers when it comes to air cooling. So I'm excited to see how their all-in-one liquid cooler performs on this computer. And I think that this is going to provide a much better look for the final result. Another thing that this computer needs is faster storage. Now, the computer does have a 750 gig 3.5 inch hard drive, but this thing is super old and it needs something a little bit faster. So PNY makes a 250 gig SSD. So we will be adding this to the system so that the computer operates a little bit faster. Now, something that we can't do is take all this hardware and put it back inside of the old crusty case that it all came out of. So we are going to get a new case for it, and I'm really excited to show you this one. This is the Qtips case. I think they call it Qtips is the company, but it looks like a little Lee & Lee imposter. I mean, it's almost identical to my Lee & Lee 011 dynamic case, but it's a smaller version and it's a fraction of the price. Now, this case comes with 7 included RGB fans inside of here, but the funniest thing is when I took it out of the packaging, every single fan is set to intake. There is no exhaust. So we are definitely going to have to adjust that and fix that up. But nonetheless, I am really excited to build in this case because I think that it looks pretty good and it's a fraction of the cost of a Lee & Lee case. Now, what I am gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead, dust everything off, and then we'll disassemble the graphics card and make sure that we put the correct thermal pads on here, and then we're gonna go ahead and throw it all in this case. Now, afterwards, we will make a judgment call on if we are going to continue to use this RAM. Now, I don't know how powerful this RAM is, so we're not going to upgrade it unless we have to. But if we do have to upgrade that RAM, I do have a plan in place for that, and we can talk about that later. Now, let's go ahead and jam out and build this computer. All right, so we are at that moment where we are going to turn this system on for the first time and see if I did my job properly and all of the hardware inside of here works. Now, before I do that, I did want to say that this case, while it does look fantastic and the end result is definitely a good looking computer, it is very difficult to cable manage in the back of this thing. Now, it's not impossible, but it definitely was a struggle. So if this is a case that you were thinking about getting at some point down the road, just know that you are going to have a tough time with cable management, but it all pays off in the end because the computer looks really, really good. Second thing I wanted to talk about is because this is an older motherboard, you do not get RGB headers. So the CPU plate here will not have any RGB to it because I don't have any way to plug it up. Now you can go out and buy an adapter to make it work. I'm just not going to spend any extra money on a flip computer because it still looks really good with this mirror finish here. And the pump will still work because the pump is actually in the hoses here. So we're still going to have a functional CPU cooler, you're just not going to have that RGB factor. Now, the last thing I did want to talk about is the RAM that was originally in the system was this PNY RAM, and I was saying that I don't know what capacity it is, what speed it is, and I was going to have to figure that out. Now, I did look up the serial number that is on the sticker here, and it turns out that these are both 4 gig sticks. So if you were wondering why I put this RAM in here, it's because I had already looked that up to make sure that we were going to have enough RAM, because I did want 16 gigs of RAM for the system. And so I did put this RAM in here, which is 16 gigs, and it should help the system run properly. But now we're going to have to go ahead, push that button, see if I did my job correctly, and see if we can get an image. Now, before I do that, real quick, I bought this computer from a guy. He didn't tell me if he wiped his hard drive or not. And because both hard drives, the brand new SSD that we put in here and the original 750 gig drive, it's going to default to his if it has Windows on it still. So what we're gonna do is if we get an image, I will unplug the monitor and then, you know, just to protect his information and hopefully not show something inappropriate. So let's go ahead, push this button. Oh, everything lights up. All the fans are going. Ooh, back fans are moving. That's some air. Oh, and we get an image. So that is fantastic. Let's go ahead, put Windows on here, and let's see how well this thing can play games, and then afterwards we'll come up with what we're gonna try to sell this thing for.
I will assist you. Damn it, that hurt. Calm down. Repair it. Only the two of us remain.
Play with this! This will hurt! My decrepit heart is pounding. This one is stronger than the rest. Lock the area down. This tendon is mine.
This fan is blowing directly in my eyes, and it's making them so dry. So while this is not the most powerful computer that we've built on the series, I definitely think it's the best looking computer that we've built on the series, and I am pretty sure the end result's going to be we get a nice big payday for this computer. But now that we're on the topic of funds, let's go ahead and talk about this money right here. Now, I will apologize in advance. I am looking at my cell phone because all of the information is being tracked on how much money we have, how much money I'm spending on different parts and different computers, so that I can make sure I'm being as accurate as I possibly can for you. So I paid $80 for the original system that we have right here. I paid $16 for the SSD that we put inside the system. I paid $55 for the CPU cooler in here, which I think looks really fantastic and is definitely gonna help us sell this thing for a little bit more money. I paid $23 for the upgrade on 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM. And I paid $84 for this beautiful Qtips case right here. Now, that makes the total build cost for this computer right here only $278, so I think that we're gonna make a pretty decent amount of money. Now, that brings down our total bankroll to $652, but that means even after building this computer, we've still made $162, or $152 rather, and that is a fantastic gain, and we still have this computer to sell. Now, for this computer, I think that this one will sell for $400-ish, so I'm gonna list it for $440 and see what happens and see if we can't get up in that $400 range. So we've made a decent amount of money on this computer right here. Now, just like in the last video, I do want to say that if you are somebody who is in possession of an older gaming computer, maybe it's sitting in your garage, an attic, a closet, a shed somewhere, collecting dust, go ahead and shoot me an email because I might be willing to purchase that computer off of you so that we can go ahead and get to the end result, which is building your computer just a little bit faster. And I just wanted to remind everybody that this is one of the last videos that I will be shooting from this office. I am moving to Florida in about 2 weeks, and I am going to need to pack all of this stuff up. So I will be missing in action for just a little bit, but don't you worry one little bit. I will be back, and I've already scouted the market near Orlando, which is around the area that I'm going to be living in, and there are lots of computers for sale there too. So we aren't gonna have any problem continuing with this series. And just like always, I hope that no matter where you are in the world, you are having a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.